Joey Fatone has opened up about a light-hearted personal habit that surfaces when he has been drinking. The longtime performer and co-host of a new mixology competition series explained that the person who consistently receives his late-night messages is his longtime girlfriend. After more than a decade together, she remains the primary recipient of those spontaneous declarations. In one recent instance, he sent a simple message expressing love, and her immediate reply suggested she could tell he might not be entirely sober. The exchange captured the easy familiarity that has developed over their years as a couple. The conversation took place while Fatone sat down with his co-host and longtime friend Lance Bass. The two were discussing various topics connected to their shared project, a competition that challenges skilled bartenders to create standout drinks for a cash prize each episode. Guest judges from different entertainment fields appear throughout the season, and the hosts have spent time observing how those celebrities approach the craft of mixing. One particularly unexpected performance came from a professional wrestler known for a more intense public image. Instead of leaning into a stereotypical party animal approach, the guest demonstrated detailed knowledge of sophisticated recipes and ingredients, surprising those who assumed a different style. Fatone also used the opportunity to tease Bass about his style as a party host. According to Fatone, Bass organizes excellent gatherings yet tends to move constantly around the space rather than remaining in one place. The observation was delivered with the affectionate ribbing that comes from years of friendship. Bass responded by explaining that circulating among guests is simply part of proper hosting, ensuring everyone feels included and the details stay managed. The back and forth reflected the comfortable dynamic the two share both on camera and off. Their professional collaboration on the series builds on a much longer history. The two first rose to prominence as members of a highly successful vocal group that formed in the mid-1990s. The process of assembling that group involved a series of connections, recommendations, and practical decisions that eventually brought 5 young singers together. Early efforts included performing in European markets before a breakthrough television appearance helped introduce them to a broader American audience. The group's name itself grew out of a playful arrangement of letters from their first names, with one member temporarily adopting a modified version to make the combination work. Behind the public success, the members navigated business challenges that eventually required legal action to gain greater control over their earnings and professional identity. Those experiences shaped a collective sense of independence that influenced later creative choices. Individual personalities also created memorable moments, from on-the-road pranks involving room service food to the practical invention of a distinctive hairstyle during periods of intense scheduling. One member later recalled how constant joking during long interview days could stretch the time required, occasionally testing patience after many hours of promotional work. The current series allows Fatone and Bass to draw on that shared background while engaging with a new format centered on creativity and competition. The show places expert drink makers in situations where they must invent original cocktails under time pressure and thematic constraints. Celebrity guests bring varied levels of experience, sometimes revealing unexpected depth of knowledge. The hosts' roles involve guiding the competition, offering commentary, and maintaining an atmosphere that balances seriousness about craft with entertainment value. Fatone's willingness to share a personal anecdote about late-night messaging fits the conversational tone the two have cultivated. It humanizes the public figures while underscoring the continuity of a long-term relationship. At the same time, the gentle ribbing about hosting habits illustrates how their friendship continues to include the same kind of direct, humorous observations that have characterized their interactions for decades. The series itself represents a shift into a different corner of entertainment, one focused on skill, presentation, and the sensory experience of well-made drinks. By pairing two familiar personalities with a competitive structure and rotating celebrity judges, the program aims to appeal both to fans of the host's earlier work and to viewers interested in mixology as a craft. The combination of personal storytelling, professional collaboration, and the practical demands of producing a weekly competition creates a multifaceted project that extends the public presence of both men in a new context. Their ability to move comfortably between teasing one another and discussing more substantive elements of the show reflects a working relationship built on mutual understanding. Fatone's account of the text exchange serves as a small window into everyday life outside the spotlight, while the observations about party hosting and celebrity guests provide insight into the production process itself. Together, these elements offer a rounded picture of two performers who continue to find new ways to collaborate after many years in the public eye. The competition format also invites comparison with other reality programs centered on culinary or creative skills. In this case, the emphasis falls on inventiveness within a defined set of rules, the ability to work under observation, and the capacity to impress both professional and celebrity evaluators. The presence of hosts who bring established chemistry helps ground the proceedings in a sense of continuity and shared history. Viewers familiar with their earlier careers may notice echoes of the same interpersonal dynamics that once played out in different professional settings. Ultimately, the discussion around the series and the personal anecdotes shared alongside it highlight how long-term professional partnerships can evolve into new creative outlets. Fatone's casual revelation about his messaging habits, the lighthearted critique of hosting style, and the appreciation for unexpected expertise among guest judges all contribute to a portrait of ongoing collaboration that remains rooted in genuine familiarity and mutual respect. Oprah Winfrey has described her decision to develop and expand a podcast under her own name as a natural continuation of work she has done for decades. In a conversation with a professional networking platform's editor, she noted that one of her clearest self-assessments is the recognition that she knows how to talk. She recalled childhood observations from family and community members who noticed her readiness to speak, framing the trait as something long present rather than newly acquired. After concluding a long-running daytime television program that spanned 25 seasons, she initially imagined a quieter phase of life. The picture she once held involved private time, simple outdoor activities, and a withdrawal from the regular demands of public conversation. Instead, she found herself returning to a format that allows sustained dialogue with a range of guests. The podcast format, she explained, extends the core activity of her earlier career while adapting to contemporary patterns of media consumption and audience need. She observed that despite the proliferation of digital platforms, algorithmic recommendations, and rapid social media exchanges, many people continue to seek deeper forms of meaning and purpose. When individuals sit quietly with themselves, she suggested, they often want reassurance that their lives matter and that they can cultivate genuine well-being for themselves and those close to them. The podcast provides a space in which those themes can be explored through conversation rather than through the constraints of a traditional broadcast schedule. Episodes appear twice each week and feature discussions with leaders, newsmakers, and individuals who have shaped cultural conversations. Topics have ranged from personal emotional boundaries within long-term relationships to health challenges and literary work. Winfrey approaches these exchanges with the perspective gained from years of observing human behavior and reflecting on what contributes to a life that feels purposeful and content. At this stage, she described the opportunity as a chance to share accumulated insight and a sense of hard-won understanding. The decision to expand the podcast reflects a belief that the fundamental human desire for connection and clarity has not diminished even as the channels for communication have multiplied. Rather than treating the shift away from daily television as an endpoint, she has treated it as an opening for a different rhythm of engagement. The format allows longer, more focused conversations that can address questions of happiness, resilience, and personal growth without the commercial interruptions or time limits that once structured her earlier work. Winfrey's comments underscore a continuity of purpose. The skills that once powered a highly visible television program, listening, drawing out personal stories, and framing larger themes, are now applied in a more flexible medium. Guests bring their own experiences, and the host's role involves creating conditions in which those experiences can be examined with care. The result is a body of episodes that together form an ongoing exploration of how people navigate complexity and search for coherence. She has also spoken about the value of offering what she has learned through decades of public and private observation. The podcast becomes a vehicle for transmitting a form of practical wisdom shaped by both success and the ordinary challenges of living. In an environment saturated with short-form content and constant stimulation, the slower pace of a dedicated conversation can serve as a counterbalance, inviting listeners to pause and consider questions that matter over the long term. The expansion of the series demonstrates that retirement from one format need not mean withdrawal from meaningful public work. Instead, It can open space for renewed focus on the elements of communication that feel most essential. For Winfrey, those elements center on the capacity to talk honestly, to listen attentively, and to help others articulate their own search for purpose. The podcast therefore functions less as a brand extension and more as a continuation of a lifelong practice of conversation as a tool for understanding. Listeners encounter a range of voices and perspectives, each filtered through the host's established approach of seeking depth rather than surface spectacle. The twice-weekly schedule provides regularity without the intensity of a daily program, allowing both host and audience to engage at a sustainable pace. Over time, the accumulated episodes form a record of contemporary concerns and enduring human questions, addressed by someone who has spent a career examining both. In describing her motivation, Winfrey returned repeatedly to the idea that people still want to know they matter and that they can shape lives of genuine contentment. The podcast exists as one response to that persistent need, offering a structured yet flexible space in which such questions can be explored. Her own trajectory, from early recognition of a gift for speech, through decades of televised conversation, to this current chapter, illustrates how a core capacity can find new expression across changing media landscapes. The project also reflects a broader pattern in which established figures adapt their public presence to formats that privilege depth and accessibility. By choosing a medium that reaches audiences wherever they listen, Winfrey continues to participate in cultural dialogue while maintaining control over the tone and substance of the exchanges. The result is a body of work that feels consistent with her earlier contributions yet responsive to the conditions of the present moment.